Disclaimer: the opinions expressed by Jacob Robinson in this video are solely his own and do not constitute legal advice nor the opinion of McCarthy Tetro.
I mean, I think it is such an under-discussed topic and something that will have a huge impact going forward. It's difficult because it is so new, and even if you have smart contracts audited, for example, those audits could be mistaken. There can be errors, omissions. You can never fully be confident that what you have is unhackable. The DAO is a good example of this. Just like the Titanic was the unsinkable ship, it doesn't, you can never fully mitigate the risks. From a legal side, it's not something we dive into as often because it is so technical, and we can't really opine on the code on the back end. What we can do is set up systems to protect the builders and protect them via contracts, and that's where that law of code comes into play to tie into the code is law ethos, where now you can set up a system to have some form of protection. That being said, it's not something I've typically seen in the DeFi space, where most of the effectuation of a contract or any form of agreement is done on chain. That's where I do think we'll see moving forward the importance of code auditors continue to grow and grow. And I'm sure there'll be software systems that can find exploits. White hat hackers are growing in prominence as well, because it is a difficult dynamic where you want to incentivize people to find these problems, but you also don't want to incentivize them too much where they exploit them or spend all their time trying to hack your protocol. Because if they're hacking for $60 million and you're only offering them 60,000, it gets a lot more tempting for someone to take the whole pie. And we've seen that in many cases, like even Mango Markets with Avi accused to have hacked the protocol. He probably could have just reported that and taken some sort of white hat hacker fee, but he felt justified in that code is law ethos. And I think that's something we're going to continue to see flushed out over the years as more and more people realize that code is not in fact law. Law is law, and law was created for a reason.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I mean, even if you go back to the original hack of the DAO, right, back in 2017, it's if you're exploiting something in the contract that's built into the contract, are you doing anything illegal, right? If the code is law, right? And so, like, yeah, I'm actually just within the confines of the smart contract.
See, it's interesting though, because my counter argument to that, Zach, is okay, but what if a bank vault was unlocked, right? And then nobody was watching at that second. Could you technically have walked in, stolen the money, and walked out? Absolutely. But just because it's possible doesn't mean it's legal or obviously ethical or moral or anything. But it's an interesting dynamic though, because in the case of a bank, for example, imagine you just execute a transaction and instead of the bank sending you $10, they send you $10 million. What legal right do you have to that money? Arguably not much, unless that you were a debtor. They had owed you that and this was some form of repayment that was accidentally sent. There was a case like that. But in this case, I just don't think you have any legal right to that, even though you're using the code as operated, just like in the case of a bank vault, because you use things the way they're meant to be used. Or sorry, just because you can use things in a certain manner that you're able to doesn't justify the actions or the consequences of those actions.